Well, believe it or not, at one point, your favorite comics sucked.
Everybody's arms are crossed.
At the beginning, we're all supposed to suck.
Yo,
Got my one-liner.
what's more American than failing?
Feel my weekend gig has turned into a one-nighter.
I thought the set went well.
The guy in the second level can out his cell phone.
There is no God. Strike me down now.
Yeah.
The tables in the back are digging my dick jokes.
That's what comedy's about, man. It's about bombing. And I was like, no, it's not. Like, that's not what you want.
They give me the sign, I give them my closer.
I'm just over 500 with good shows versus bad shows.
Just enough to get in the playoffs.
I hit the punchline.
All right, this is a good episode.
Fuck it.
Long story short,
He failed. God damn it. Yes,
Wait.
misery loves company, my boy.
thanks for coming out. Boom.
Thanks for coming out, baby. Thanks for coming out.
Hey.
Thanks for coming out. Are we under attack?
Thanks for coming out. Fuck, that bad?
Thanks for coming out. I'm in. Thanks for coming out.
I can't even watch.
Yeah, all that was unprofessional.
Thanks for coming out, ladies and gentlemen. The bomb is the bomb, and it will always be that. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Thanks for Coming Out, a podcast about bombing. I'm one of your hosts, Shuli Agar, joined by my comedy brother, way back from the 702 Las Vegas days, my man James Mattern. And
Yes,
we
buddy.
we are here to, the last few episodes we've talked to comics about bombing, but it's not just about comics bombing. We want to peel the layers of this onion, right? And just get deeper and deeper into it. So who better than to talk to about combat than a general? Am I right? I mean, he's sent troops into battle countless times. He's watched lives destroyed right in front of him. People you saw one day never were there again another day.
Fun.
That's it. You don't.
And I love that you call him a general because his hair kind of looks like both Machiavelli
Yeah.
and Sun Tzu. So this is outstanding.
He doesn't even learn their names till after 2 years because he knows the shelf life. It ain't worth it. It ain't worth it.
It's like a junior college player.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, one of the owners of my home club, my favorite club in New York City, New York Comedy Club, our good friend Emilio. Emilio, how are you?
Shuli, James, I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Is this exciting? We got him up and out in Los Angeles. He's vibrant.
We are in LA,
He's doing it.
right off the heels of Vegas. Your guys' hometown.
That's where we met.
Yeah.
Yes, that's where it all began. That's where the journey of bombing started.
Who knew that a relationship could start in Vegas and sustain itself for this long? I thought what happened in Vegas stayed in
It
Vegas.
never does. Yes.
Well,
usually-
no, that's not true. As long as you don't get breast implants, usually the relationships work
Okay.
out long
Okay.
term. But when they get tit jobs and go, oh, I'm going to be cocktailing at the Palace Station, just say goodbye. You're never going to see them again.
Yeah.
I love that the fake tits at the Palace Station means goodbye. So I can only imagine at Caesars at the Cosmo. Where
It's the
gonna go.
first step on a long staircase. It's it's what's her face it's Sharon Stone at the end of Casino. You know what I mean? It's that it's that journey begins.
Well, you guys made it happen. A long-lasting love friendship between Shuli and James Matter.
Well, here we might as well. Like, Emilio, you were just there. We did a really cool gig, but you saw a lot of like Vegas. Can you imagine someone, and even like 2 decades ago, starting in comedy in Vegas? Do you think that would be a good play? Like, would you want to start as an act in that town?
Yeah, I think Vegas could be a good place. I mean, because it has its own, it has that grittiness if you go to like where real people live.
Yeah.
And yet you also have that dichotomy of like a show town, right? So look, again, like, if you're going to come up as a comic, are you really going to go and perform on the Strip? I mean, I don't know, maybe. There's a lot of action in Vegas. There's a lot of characters in Vegas. There's a lot of things moving and shaking in Las Vegas. So I would think of that as a good place to start off as a comic, right?
Well, there's also a lot of choices in Vegas, right? Which I think hurt you coming up in the quote unquote comedy scene. You say two decades ago to start comedy there. I don't know that you want to start comedy there now. You know what I mean? Like if there's place like, look, you and your club was a huge help to James, to myself, because it was a spot where people judged us on whether or not we were funny, whether or not we were making the effort and trying. Whereas Vegas, they book people that are represented, that they know, that are in the circuit, that are already touring. There's no grassroots. There's no hotel that's interested in building local talent. It's just, and it's never going to be that way, because you can go see local talent, or you can go see Celine Dion or Britney Spears, and that's where I think you get hurt in a place like Vegas for a scene.
No, for sure. I think no, totally. I mean, look, you guys came up, so you know better than anyone, but outside of maybe some of the main cities, you can make the argument that it's hard to come up in any, town for comedy if you're not in like the
Absolutely.
LA's of the world or the New York's of the world. Vegas to me though has all the elements. Vegas for me is one of the places that when I go to, I don't really have any FOMO, right? When I leave New York and I go somewhere else, I do feel like I'm in a secondary place. And that might sound like a terrible thing to say, but the reality is, I'm like, there's probably something way cooler happening back home. I don't feel that way when I'm in Las Vegas. When I'm in Vegas, I'm like, this place has its own energy. There is shit happening here. It's a place where stuff is happening. And I think if you're a stand-up comedian and you're looking to just get on stage, to Shuli's point, maybe you're not going to get booked as much in Vegas if you're a no name, because it's about draw, appeal, and all that stuff. But as someone on my side of the business who's producing and curating and trying to create stages, Vegas for me would be a great place to do it, because there's just so much stuff happening, and there's a lot of opportunity, I think, to produce stuff. Whether or not that's a great environment for a comic to come up in, I mean, that's up to you guys. But from where I sit, I think Vegas is a very appealing place to start off as a stand-up.
All the negative that I highlighted, I think benefited us in the end. I think it made us better comics, because we appreciated every stage that was given to us, that we were allowed to go on, regardless of it was 5 people there or 9 people there, because there were so few stages for us to get on. So, and I think by figuring out how to make those 9 people laugh only helps you in the end.
Yeah, too bad. Too bad it was too hard to get all 9. But
Yeah.
those 6 that I got sometimes really helped out.
Yeah,
6 is
James.
a win.
Well, James had one of those shows last night here in LA.
Yeah. Dude, so this is a segment which probably will be going forward this week, and thanks for coming out. We got into LA, didn't even check into the hotel, went straight to the Kibitz room. Shul, you remember that next to Cantor's?
Oh, yeah. Oh, the
Yeah.
kibitz room.
Kibitz room where there's
It's a
pictures.
kibitz. It's a kibbutz is where you live, and then a kibitz is a hang. It's
Yeah. Is kibbutz where you go when you hide? Because that's where I felt like going after that. I got thrown right on stage, and it was fucking brute to the towel. 6 civilians, one dude dressed in all yellow, and we're recording this hours after.
Did they tell you, hey, did they go, hey, it's industry night, so keep it clean?
Yes.
Did they give you one of those?
It was unbelievable. There's 4 booths in the back, and it's typical LA. Everyone's having a conversation more and
Yeah,
more.
there was like someone tuning his guitar because it was like a musical comedy act coming on right after James.
It was insane. No one could be. The bartenders are discussing. Goddamn, what do you think we should play next? Steal Your
I mean,
Sunshine?
I started heckling just because why not?
He's bored out of his mind. He just fucking drove here, and
Beat him, join him.
it was so tough. And this dude looked so serious. And this is hours after the Oscar smack. And
Yeah.
I'm looking at it. I hate to profile, but he was a tall black guy who was not smiling, dressed in one color, and he looked like he wanted. Because I'm now petrified that we're only going to get heckled, and people are going to come up and smack us if they don't like what we're saying. And this guy was trying, I think, to give that vibe. And I
Right.
still kept doing crowd work to him, and it was uncomfortable as shit. You get a laugh from these 2 guys who looked like a gay couple but weren't, so they should really look in their lives. I really think they're missing out. They look like a cute couple together. And some dude who looked like a junior high professor, teacher, whatever, gone bad, take for that, whatever. And it was difficult. If you got 1 laugh out of the 6, it felt like a victory. And I was like, I think at one point I turned to Emilio and go, get the car running. Let's go back to Vegas. Let's
Yeah.
just cancel the rest of the shit we got going out here in LA. And I'm like, why do I ever come out to this town?
My first spot ever in LA that I got booked on, the guy made it sound like he was putting me up in the main room at the
Oh, yeah.
Comedy Store. And I show up there, like, I drove from Vegas to go do this spot, right, at the Comedy Store. And I get there and it's a Sunday, and it's like 6 o'clock, 5:30, and I walk in and there's like 3 people in the crowd and a line of comics in the back wall. And I walk in, I'm like, "Hey man, I'm here to do a show tonight." He goes, "Cool, you're on next." And I'm like, "Next?"
Always
I'm
do
like,
that to you when you come
"Yeah."
from out of town. Oh, you were up 2 minutes ago. Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I go up, and of course, I'm just dying, and I'm getting ready to finish up, and I see the comics snickering in the back. And I lived in LA for 14 years, so I had enough of LA. So I just fucking lose it. I go Bill Hicks on him. I'm like, I can't wait for this fucking place to fall into the ocean with your little fucking clique in the
In
back.
Arizona Bay on them.
Yeah, I go, your little clique in the back with your little circle of friends. Why don't you fucking circle jerk on each other's faces, you fucking hack pieces of shit. Fuck LA. And I walk out feeling like I've slayed the dragon. And I get to my car and there's a $85 parking ticket on my widget. And I'm like, fuck me right back.
Damn, so you were in LA for 14 years?
Yeah, yeah. I
How
went to
long were you in New
school.
York for?
15.
Man,
15 years I
he's
worked
lived a lot of
for the
lives, this
show.
guy.
He's a goddamn cat.
Man.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, this is so weird. So we're gonna do a bunch of shows. Emilio's got a club opening out here,
We do.
California Comedy Club.
Yep,
I'm gonna
exciting.
host the first show, but it's weird every time I come out here. It's crazy because we were just in Vegas, and my boy Cooter. I don't know if you remember this kid,
Cootie?
Julie. Cootie. We'll find tomorrow. Cooter came to the show. We discussed. Do you remember in LA? We thought years ago. It was the year after September 11. I've been doing stand up a year. Shuli, maybe a little more than that. We went with our crew. We were playing on September 10th of 2002 at some small room. It wasn't even a comedy club. The Giggle. It was some shit room across from the Saddle Inn or whatever. And we thought our lives were going to change. This guy booked a bunch of people, a musical comedy act. We all thought we're going to blow the fuck up. We stayed with his buddy, 4 of us in a shitty like side room, like guest house. We had big meals that day. We felt like victorious people. The show at 4 hours, and after minute 30, it was the worst thing ever. I bombed so fucking hard. I got heckled by the man who was housing us. He was like, "Why don't you fucking stop?" It was insane, and I was scared I never would come back to this town.
So a question for you guys, not to go off track. Do you remember your best bomb more than your best set?
Always.
Yeah.
I can't tell you what my best set is. I'm supposed to do well.
Neither can we,
Yes.
James.
Yeah,
Neither can we.
hey-o, we're
Can
waiting.
you fly out to LA by Wednesday so you can open this fucking thing? We need someone capable. Your worst moment will always be more memorable. Like, I mean, you'll remember, like, there's been great moments, like coming out, like opening for Chrissy at the Beacon. I'll never forget. Will I remember any of the specific laughs? No. Well, I remember the feeling of me trying to do one of my performance art pieces because I was awful back then, of trying to get someone to take my keys and chase them while the music cue plays Benny Hill. That went horrible. I will always remember that sinking feeling with my friends sitting in the audience going, "Oh, he really should use his degree he got from UNLV a year ago." Like,
Yeah.
I will always, you can't take that away from me. That will
No.
always be in me. My minutes before I die, I will remember that over any kind of kill, anytime. Yeah, Schulz?
Well, I think it's a numbers game. You'll kill more than you bomb if you stick
Yes.
at this. And so killing, it's kind of, I mean, look, it's great every time, but you know that feeling. Bombing, bombing is just completely no net. Brakes are gone. We're just gonna coast this thing down the hill and see if we can come to a decent stop. It's, you can't predict it, you can't plan it. It just happens. Whereas killing, you fine tune and refine this material and hone it. You expect to kill, so it's not really a surprise. That bomb, that reaction to that, here we are.
Yeah.
That's big.
Yeah, and there's no real growth in killing, right? It's
That's
like
right.
anything. If you're bombing, you're retooling, you're learning, you're figuring it out. And those are the times that you really, I guess, do look at. I mean, when you hear a lot of these stories about like the big comics, right? The Kevin Harts, the Chris Rocks of the world. And they always talk about, they talk more fondly about those nights in the comedy club when they were performing in front of 3 or 5, 6 people, 2, 3 a.m. I mean, they talk about that. I feel like they gush more about that than they do in many respects is when they do sell out a garden. To your point, right, James? Like, you always remember the Beacon. That was a big moment. I think you always remember the first time. If you're Chris Rock, you're always gonna remember the first time you sold out Madison Square Garden. But he's gonna look back at those days, the comic strip, more fondly when him and Seinfeld or Sandler or whoever were sitting there, 3 a.m. literally in front of two people, because that's really what the structures and the bones and the nuts are of a comedian.
3 people and the server talking over them while they're waited 5 hours to get up to play to those 3 people.
I mean,
Yes.
server, more like the janitor, Seamus, literally coming by and just no, but janitor coming in and
sweeping or even punching you. I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly.
can we
You
be
ever
real?
see those videos of like those intersections in Thailand where it's just like a figure eight? It's cars, people,
yeah.
buses, and you're like, how the hell do they pull that off?
Yeah.
And that's what it's like in a comic where it's like you're trying to get a joke out while the server's trying to get a drink order, while this guy's trying to tell the people to shut up, while and it's everybody's just hitting this intersection at the same time. It's wild.
And it's such a weird thing, man, because give me another. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but give me another art form or any kind of performance or any live whatever where the person can actually revel in the fact that they're not doing well. I mean, musicians aren't like,
Yeah.
man, I'll remember when we shit the bed so bad at this, at the whatever.
Do you remember when your string broke and you kept playing?
Yeah,
Like, no.
I mean, no one really, right?
Well, that's what I was talking to my buddy about, to Cooter. We were at a wedding before COVID in Houston. His brother got married, and one of us brought it up, and we're laughing about how shitty that gig was, how depressed I was that night. We're laughing, and my buddy's wife, she's a mom, and she's can't believe that we're talking about this and doesn't comprehend that we're having a good time laughing about it. And I'm confident in who I am as a performer. And she said this. And there's other people around. She turns to people and goes, well, our Uber driver last night thought you were funny. Like, that was going to make up for that fucking gig. Where
Not everybody hates you.
yeah, you did great. My kids think you're funny. Like, no, just stop. We're fine. I'm okay. We laugh about bombing. It's so healthy. That's what we said when we started this podcast. It's hilarious. All we do in green rooms and back tables is talk about bombing. It's all comics do. And yet on social media, no one's had a bad gig since '81. No one ever.
No one.
Open mic, crushing it. Another sold out open mic, sold out open mic. There's 2 fucking people there.
Or like during COVID, like sold out the show. The
Yeah.
max
Yeah, 7
capacity was
seats.
15 people.
Yeah, you're on a
Yeah.
fucking sold out. Central Park.
Yeah.
Sold the fuck out.
5 sold out shows. They let 2 people
Yeah.
in each
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll
5 sold
promote that.
out.
Like, yeah, we sold out 3 rooftops tonight. And I'd be like, mind you, that's 60 people,
60
but we still did it.
Let's ask you, as a promoter, you book some things. What stands out more? Do you remember the comics that worked for you when you've seen them tank? Do you remember their worst moment or their best moment?
I mean, I remember their best moments more, to be
You do.
honest. Yeah, I mean, I just do. I don't know. I'm typically a pretty positive, optimistic person, and if someone is tanking or bombing, which listen, I think anyone who runs a comedy club in New York City, especially, has to appreciate and enjoy the bomb. I've been in a room multiple times, see comics absolutely just eat shit, and don't get me wrong, a bunch have stuck out, and they've come off stage. I'm so sorry. I'm so this. I'm so that. I'm like, look, this is the only way you're gonna get better. Like,
Yeah.
it's okay to bomb. Just you don't want to do that though at a theater gig, right? So if I'm booking a lot of shows on the road, which in the city I'm not booking as much anymore. I book a lot more stuff, at the theaters we might be working with, or road stuff. That's different, right? So those are like really big events or special kind of moments that I tend to think a lot more about, because those are big deals, right?
Yeah.
So I haven't seen a lot of people bomb at those. But there are some very special bombs. You laugh the most. I mean, listen, it's comedy, right? So
Yeah.
what is comedy? Comedy is identifying something that is otherwise maybe kind of shitty or ironic, and poking fun at it and trying to find the positive in it. So that's all that bombing is. That's why we all remember the bombs and laugh at the bombs, But I mean, God, there was a time at the club where the comic, I'm not kidding, said the joke 3 times.
3 times in like a 15-minute set.
Not even. It's like a 5-minute set. It was like during a competition.
Oh my
They
God.
did it twice, and then they started it again. They go, oh my God, I think I already did that joke. The audience was like, yeah, you did it twice.
What
They
was
should
the
kinda like-
competition to see? What was the competition to see how many times he could say the same joke? And
Well, I think we got the winner.
I'll never forget. So another time during roast battle, and I don't know if this counts. It was a bomb, but
I mean, roast battle can be some real awkward shit.
guys,
Oh.
like, so the two battlers clearly were drunk, and the one battler who is someone I consider a friend just paused, like, and it got quiet, and they just like literally blanked out, and we caught eyes, and I just whispered, "Say something." I was like, I was like on the rail section, like if you're stage left, and like I just very subtly was like, "Say something," just mouth, "Say something." They like snapped out of it and went to their joke, and it didn't land. It got really bad. I was like, it was tough.
And then you're like, I should have whispered, "Don't say anything. Get off the stage."
Yeah.
Say nothing.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I did roast battle first as a competitor and bombed horribly.
Did you?
Oh well, because
Did you go against James?
No, we never
No,
took on each other.
I went against J
Two
Nog,
person.
and
That's right.
the only other roasts I had done were for the Stern Show, so I had written like I was going to roast on the Stern Show.
Which is different.
Yeah, I didn't know there's a whole different cadence and a rhythm and just a different style with that kind of roast battle. So like and I did the worst thing. I forget who was judging. It may have been Mike Yard. I don't know, but he said something about like you're doing this one joke about his album being shitty too many times, and I just go, every joke was about me being in the Holocaust or Jewish. Then he did. I'm like, now I'm arguing with the judges about the other contestant. Hi, honey. Can you go upstairs, please, while Daddy works? Thank you.
Maybe she wants to talk about Holocaust.
I don't know. Do you want to talk about dad bombing? All right, get out of here. What's wrong with you? She said, yeah, by the way. Get out of here.
She wants to bring it down to size.
What up, everybody? Want to talk to you about our sponsor on Thanks for Coming Out. I know these people well. They are an amazing company. They are out of Iowa, the best friggin' corn-fed Midwest beef you ever had in your goddamn life. Rustic Cuts, my friend. Don't worry, they got grass-fed too, if that's how you roll. They got it all. Ground beef, steaks, burgers, sliders. It never ends. And every single thing they have is delicious. I've tried it all. And you don't have to be locked into buying these big packages. You can pick whatever you want from their website, rusticcutscb.com. That's rusticcutscb, like cbradio.com. You go on there, you pick out whatever meats you want, you type in the promo code SHULI, you get 10% off your order. Order something, try it. You can't screw this up unless you just leave it on there overnight. All the meat is aged 21 days. You know what that's going to cost you to get at a steak place? Night on the town, babysitter, parking. Forget about it. Order it. Get it right to your door. Make it yourself. Feed it to the missus. And when she tastes this meat, deal closer, baby. Mariano Rivera coming out the bullpen. It's a wrap. So check out Rustic Cuts. rusticcutscb.com. They're the sponsor for Thanks for Coming Out. And we want to thank them for coming out. And make sure you use the promo code SHULI and you'll get 10% off. Now, back to the show.
Fucking good in there too.
You got to go, Bubba.
Here's my question.
I'm recording.
Emilius. Okay, so when you have all these shows, you have like roast battles, you have auditions. What has been the most painful that someone's bombed? Is it a roast battle or is it auditions where people are trying to get in the club and this means the world to them? You can see their hands shaking.
The most painful bomb is when someone's doing something that's a big deal for them.
So,
whether like a comedy album.
Has anyone bombed during a recording? There's so many recordings at New York Comedy Club.
Oh yeah.
It's probably the best place to record because the co-owner Scott is an engineer, been in the music industry for years. You can hear, I've always said this, both my albums, you can hear fillings and teeth fucking moving. They record. There's a reason why everything's coming out from New York Comedy Club because you just know what you're getting out of it. So people have bombed at tapings.
Oh, yeah.
This is phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
Like how bad? Like
bad.
Where they do both shows a night usually.
Yeah.
Both shows bad.
Yeah, I mean, to the point where we were like, this is unusable.
You will tell the person, we can't put this out.
I mean, look,
that's better than putting it out.
We're not. I mean,
people are paying though for the time, so they want to put it out.
We have a label now, so if under our label, yeah, we would 100% be like, look, this is unusable, we can't put it out. The label's relatively new. Luckily, we haven't had that happen, but in the past, we've just from doing the engineering and it being representative at the club. I mean, look, the comic will know too. We've had a couple times where comics have just not put it out.
There have been scrapped albums. I had no idea.
Yes, or they were like, or what they did was, they redid it at their hometown. So let's say you're a comic from Boston or you're a comic from wherever. And I mean, look, when you record an album, you're headlining a show.
Yeah.
And luckily, we have a club that is very well attended. But sometimes, if
Right.
you're doing an album, let's say on a random night, the idea is that you will have some ability to pull and draw. And we've had cases where the comic just they just think like, oh, there's just gonna be people there because it's at the club, New York Comedy Club, or whatever. And that, again, 95% of the time will be the case. But there have been very specific cases where that wasn't the case. So maybe there's only 15 people there, or maybe there is only 30 people there. Well, 30 is still a good number, but there's just no one knows who the hell the person is. And if that happens, and unless the person is really just crushing it,
Like
it can be difficult. Or there's been a couple instances where the crowd was really hot. It was a nice big audience, and the comic just wasn't prepared enough.
Oh my!
They just weren't prepared enough. Or like in the middle of a album recording, which we would never ever advise anyone to do. You do not do this. Just because it's being recorded doesn't mean you stop the recording. It's not like a film shoot where you do a takeover or a retake or a redo. That just messes the whole thing. We've had a comic be like, wait, I messed that joke up. Let's take it back. And you're just like, no, this is why we have 2 shows in one night.
Yeah.
I did warm up for a guy once who stopped in the middle and had a panic attack. He goes, I can't do this anymore. I was technically warm up, not host. I went back on and did 12 minutes of shucking and jiving at a casino in the middle of nowhere, which we should have recorded there. And then the guy came fucking back. But like in the middle of it, just like kind of like, I don't got like, you ever see Bottle Rocket, the movie where the guy goes, oh, I lost it, man. And he walks off. He fucking pulled that. He just was like, enough. And I'm like, what the fuck are we going to do? I jump back on and I honestly swing my arms for 12 minutes.
So, it's funny. So we actually had one of our staff bomb. Let me explain. We had a staff bomb, right? So one of the very first recordings we ever did, we took over the club in 2014. I'm talking like 2 months in. We were working with a fairly well-known comedian, and we were very grateful. They were like, look, I'm going to want to record something, and by then, people already knew Scott's ability to record. They knew the room was a kill box. We did something first with another comic, Nico, which came out phenomenal. So this person was, again, a comedian that I don't want to say was throwing us a bone. They really weren't, but in some way they kind of were, being a newer club owners and taking over the club and rebuilding and the whole thing. So we do it on a Friday night, primetime spot. Now, mind you, the staff that we had was all kind of, we brought everyone up from the street team days. We came up, doing guerrilla marketing sales, the whole thing. So we didn't really have like the security fully unlocked. So, we had, and I'm going to call him out. It's fine. Ozzy was doing security. And at the time, Ozzy never freaking did security.
This is a legendary doorman.
He's the man.
Everyone loves him. The friendliest dude
Sweetheart.
ever. Will hug the shit out of you. Will tells everyone.
Got his ass kicked a few weeks ago. Good stuff.
We love him. We love him.
Yeah.
So like, there's kind of, the audience is a little rambunctious. Someone's kind of talking, and I'm sitting next to Oz. I'm like, Ozzy, I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Handle this. Like, what the hell's going on? Like, you're doing security. Let's go. Ozzy literally in the middle of it goes, everyone, please just quiet down. We're doing a taping.
No.
Everyone just please. And the comic on stage is like, no. To Ozzy, like, no. It's like,
so he did control. Oh my God. He means so well. It's so sweet.
I mean, dude, look, whatever. It was,
he doesn't know better, but
I mean, now that would never happen, obviously. But like, it was just.
Well, I'm gonna do that the next day.
It was so good. It was terrible. And I'll tell you who the comic was later, James, because I think you'll get a kick out of it.
I can't wait.
What made you want to get into the comedy club business, Emilio? How did that start for you?
I mean, well, I was doing corporate sales, sports marketing stuff, and I got involved in acting, and I needed flexibility in the workplace. So I left my corporate gig to just kind of being my, look, I was 25 at the time and I wanted to kind of go a different path. I wanted to enjoy my 20s. I wanted to enjoy New York. And I felt like going to a dead end job. Not that it was dead end. For me, it was, every day from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. I didn't want to go that route. I answered a Craigslist ad for part-time work to sell tickets for a comedy club. It was like make $300 a day, one of these things.
Right.
I did it strictly just to make some money and have flexibility to audition and do other stuff. And I did it. To most people, it would be a very thankless job. Basically it was barking, but it was not barking because it wasn't like comedians doing it. It was all like just people who needed to make money and needed to have flexibility in the workplace. And I was very good at it. The guy who interviewed me was Scott, who's been my partner for the last, almost 20 years. And just from us doing that, I always loved comedy. I never really knew how you can get into entertainment. It was always something I always wondered, like, who would be cool to work for like HBO or whatever, being someone who loves sports and entertainment. And that kind of made us fall in love with the comedy club atmosphere, right? That's when the scene. I was like, you know what? The comedy club stuff is really where it's at, the venue stuff, the live entertainment stuff. And just from doing that, and then we started promoting and marketing other venues. We started doing like bars, restaurants, music, everything. But like comedy was just, I don't know, comedy, I'm a big basketball fan. And comedy for me was like the most equivalent to basketball in the arts. It was like, you don't need much. Basketball, you need is a hoop, a ball. That's it. Comedy, you just need a mic, a comic, an audience. That's it. Simple. And I love the fact that the comedians are all hungry. They all have crazy good work ethic. And I feel like of any art form out there, comics match the intensity of, if you're hungry as a comic, you're going to make it. Like if you really want to do it. And I felt like the way my work ethic was, like I like working with comics. I feel like we match each other's work ethics. You know what I mean? Because I work really hard. And I know a comic, if they really want it, they're going to match what I'm bringing and vice versa. And that just made me fall in love with the whole thing. So,
well, this is interesting though. You bring up, sorry, Schultz, but like you brought up that you were barking, right? Like that's how it started.
We called it pitching, but pitching. Sure.
Was it ever? We're talking about bombing. What was like your worst experience of trying to get someone in a club?
Oh my God!
And it going bad.
It was always so much. I mean, it was all terrible. We used to have it. We always said like just get as many no's out of the way first. So the second we hit the street, we would just say wild shit just to have someone tell us go fuck ourselves.
Wild shit. So you're like a poker player mucking the first few hands.
just get it out of the way, and
to get the sting out as well. So you can just get disappointed early and there's nowhere to go but up.
Get punched in the face a few times.
So what's the wildest shit you would say?
Oh, I mean, like it's just stupid stuff. Hey, you guys want to see John Mayer tonight? Who? John Mayer. Bernie Mac live tonight. Oprah Winfrey. Comedy. Just be like jackasses, and you get in a rhythm. And then all of a sudden, you'd say something like, you guys want to do something? You want French fries? Free French fries? Free French fries? No, not really. But we have a comedy show. Really, comedy. And then all of a sudden, you're in a rhythm and a flow. And next thing you know, you're just kind of riffing and you're stopping people. People see you stopping people. Oh, what's going on over there? And we would tag team it. So the way it would work is Scott and I would pitch together. The second I saw him stop a group of people, I would try to stop a group of people to create like a buzz. It really kind of was very similar to almost like watching you guys do stand up in terms of bombing. Again, we took the same approach. It was all numbers game. It was like, get the nose out of the way. And we've had people, I mean, look, Scott, who you guys know well, Scott was a wise ass in the street.
He's a wise ass in life.
I kept it more like straight. I never messed around. My whole thing was just, be straight, number game, go at it like an animal. It's going to, if you bat 300, you're going to make the Hall of Fame. So for me, it was always like, for every 10 no's, get 3 yeses. Scott would say some wild shit and he'd like get choked out. Like Scott literally got choked once from NYU. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. What could you say to get hand jobs around back? Just kidding. But Sinbad's doing a set. Yeah.
I mentioned John Mayer. It was like this British guy was, hey, so the name of our company for New York Comedy Club is Do You Like Comedy?
Okay.
Right. And the name of our company, our LLC for Fort Street is I Like Sit Down Comedy. And the reason why we chose that is because whenever we'd be on the street, we'd say, hey, do you like comedy? Someone would be a wise ass and say, I like sit down comedy, like to be a dick.
Oh, fuck.
So we did that as kind of like an homage to our history. Like, because so people would always be a wise ass. we'd say, hey guys, you like stand-up comedy? Or like sit down comedy. Hey guys, want to see a comedy show? I'm seeing one right now.
Yeah,
So we'd always
right.
have to deal, and we'd always have to be quick right back. So Scott would be so NYU. Scott's like, hey man, you go to NYU? You guys into comedy? They're like, it was like an English guy, but like, no, I don't. You're always out here bugging me. Blah blah blah. And he was like, he basically called him John Mayer and said, I hate your music, or it said something about John
You
Mayer.
call someone British John Mayer?
He made a
That's
John
fighting
Mayer joke.
words.
He made a John Mayer joke, and the guy literally grabbed Scott by the neck. But he didn't really. Is this visual? Will people see this?
Oh yeah.
He didn't really like
Go ahead.
do a big. It was like a little weird, like this. And Scott was like, dude, like if you're gonna choke me, choke me.
I've had some girls say that to me too. In all fairness.
Yeah, and then Scott commented. Scott was like, "Ooh, choke me like a little girl." Like he was saying like
of
weird
course
shit.
he had said that.
So yeah, I mean, I remember
got choked.
I remember one time,
John Mayer.
one time outside Columbia, we were doing a legitimate like 9/11 fundraiser show, and we have a display in our hand. And I'm like, hey man, are you? I'm like, you go to Columbia? He's like, leave me alone. I'm like, dude, we're just out here doing a fundraiser, selling tickets. And the guy takes my display and just knocks it out of my hand.
Wow, and it's for 9/11. So does that incite you even more? Do you take it more personal because it's like for something really good?
Oh, I mean, listen, you have to again, think about it. You have to have skin. It was just one of those things like, whatever, move on.
Did he praise Allah after he knocked it down?
He did praise Allah, actually.
All right.
You said he lost one of his cousins. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. No, but I mean, think about it though, right? Like, like for comics, barking, I feel like is actually a pretty cool tool for a comedian, even just to deal with that
crowd work. It's
yeah.
really crowd work, on a different level where you have. I remember Norton doing this great joke about this prisoner who got a female prison guard pregnant, and and this guy I believe was on death row, and he's like, and Norton's whole take was like, look how good he is talking to women. Like he literally has a window this big of like, hey, how are you today? And that's it. That's the only conversation he has. Just be like, you look really pretty, and he's just got one, and he somehow not only gets her to stop, but he gets her to hook up with him, and he knocks her up. Like that's amazing.
No, I mean, look, dude. Again, like as a stand-up, you guys correct me if I'm wrong. When you have those precious minutes to make it happen, and you want to make that first joke hit, right?
Yeah,
it's no different than what we were doing. A guy worked for me for years, Keith. He was black, and he would say, because you almost assume no one's listening to the first thing you say. Their natural tendency, if you're in a Times Square, is to say no. Right. You can say whatever. Hey man, you want $100? No. He would say, hey, do you like black people? They'd be like, no. He's like, really? Oh, no, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean that. Like, oh, so you like black people? Of course I like black. Come on, man. Talk to me for a minute. Where are you from?
Funny.
It was just like luring them in. And then you have literally 2 to 5 minutes to really capture their attention. And that was that.
Well, if you like black people, we have at least 2 of them on stage tonight, and you should give me $25.
There it is. Right. Anyway.
I don't believe you, but I'll still sell you tickets. Yeah. Here you go.
But
so you guys end up getting this club, and I imagine in a business sense, the bombing had to be, forget on stage. I mean, you guys had to figure out how to do this, right?
Yeah. I mean, we never really knew how to run a venue. I mean, at the time, you don't really know if you're bombing or not in terms of running the business. You're just kind of, all you're looking at is growth. So it's like, if I'm doing better next week versus last week, then that's good. So it wasn't so much like, we didn't really harp on like, oh, we did this wrong. It was like, we didn't know if we were doing anything wrong. All we knew until like it started getting right. So yeah, I mean, we took over the club, and then, I mean, look, we took over a club that had been beaten to death. So there really was nowhere to go but up. If anything,
it had a pretty not so great rep. Let's just say
that. I mean, it was, it's been around since the 80s. I mean, I think it had its history.
Right.
Over the last, from the time we took it over, there had been probably a good 10 to 15 years where it really gotten beaten up. So for us, we had the ability to take risks, and we could fly a bit under the radar, and we took that approach like, hey, it can only be better. So we were given, it was like being an open micer to a degree where no one cares about what you're saying anyway, because you're nobody.
Right.
So you can just say wild shit and let it fly. And
It's a
that was
really great spot to be in, you know,
Yeah.
where people don't expect anything from you. So if you do something remotely well, then people are blown away, right?
and even if it was just remotely well, Shules, like we were making miracles happen. Whereas
Right.
now it's interesting now, like we're doing this thing in Cali and we don't let this affect us too much, but it seeps in your head. It's like, okay, well, we've been fortunate enough to hit a lot of home runs. And anything that doesn't go well now will it's like a bad reflection because you
Mhm.
almost lose the ability to take certain risks.
And you're scared of that.
Well,
Or are you
no,
concerned
no,
with that?
no, no. It seeps in your head sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I'll like be like, fuck, ticket sales are low. Like, fuck, if this doesn't work out, it's a stain, you know. But again, I think it depends how you conduct yourself. I think, and again, just no different than if you're a comic who's known to take risks, then I think you're always going to be given that you're always going to given that allowance to make some mistakes,
Yeah.
to break some eggs. I think we are viewed as comedy producers and promoters who take risks. So I don't think it's not something I'm overly concerned about, but it is different from 7 years ago when we started this journey of running our own clubs to now, whereas the eyeballs maybe weren't on you as much, you know?
Let me say the best risk you ever made when you took over that place and you got rid of that huge ass gumball machine. Do you remember that gumball machine, Shules? I moved to New
remember
York
it.
with you and I was about to put a goddamn quarter in there. My old buddy Ed Murray grabs my hand. This is the most dramatic grab ever. And I've like almost accidentally like jumped off a bridge. That's another story. This guy grabbed me like I was jumping off a bridge. So, nah, I saw a rat in there a day ago. I go, fuck that dog. And I'd only until these guys took it over. After that, I've been in New York like maybe 3 or 4 times over like 7 years
Yeah.
until you guys took it over after rat in the gumball gate.
Crazy.
You got rid of what a great move. Just get rid of that filth, farm filth.
I wanted to keep it anyway.
What I love now is that, you know, you have multiple locations in the city. You have a spot in Atlantic City where shows are being produced. You got a spot in Connecticut, which ironically in May, I'll be at both. And
Plug in, baby.
little plug. Now California, what I love about it is I love how much you respect and love comedy, everybody there that works at that place. And I've always loved from day one the youngsters there getting the reps in and watching them grow and so hungry. I was saying it's like watching difference between college and pros, right? Like the college kids are they're fighting for that contract, man. The defense is in your face. There is no room. Whereas the pros, all right, when it's playoffs, I'll turn it on, right? And
Yeah.
so these guys, I got a check spot. They run for it. You know, you want to host? I'm there. Like, I love the hunger and the passion that is at your clubs, man.
Thanks, bud. I mean, you know, again, you know, we try to keep things very grassroots, right? And when Scott and I were running the promotion stuff, the promotions team, you know, it was very simple. I mean, our whole thing to anyone that we worked with was like, look, we're going to get people in here. Okay. When we were promoting the strip, it was like our number one job is just to sell tickets and get people into a venue. And what would be very frustrating for us is when we would have a marketing meeting, you know, with one of the venues with some 23-year-old who thought they, you know, knew all this fancy stuff because they took some stupid class on whatever. And they would be going over things that really meant nothing. And me and Scott was like, man, how many times do we have to be in meetings with people where they overcomplicate a very simple thing? Our job is to get people in here. Just let us do that. And all this other crap you're talking about, we don't even know what you're saying. You know, there's an element of overthinking, right?
Yeah, it's like
So we
Iron
just-
Chef. You ever watch Iron Chef?
Yeah,
Can you
totally.
just make a soup without a fucking lion's head in it? How about
Totally. No,
that?
you know, now, so our approach to everything is always that. What are we doing? What is there to overthink?
Oh shit.
You know, let's find a venue. Let's pull in some good people. Let's get comics and let's promote and get people in. And then we work from inside out. Outside in. We kind of work backwards from there. Like, okay, we're going to do that. And then maybe 5 years from now or whatever, a few years from now, then we could start doing some, you know, markety stuff or press or whatever. But we try to keep it very, very simple and to the point. And I think that, Shul, you know, people are like, and I think that is why we've been able to do just so much stuff because we just don't overthink it. It's like, we want to do a festival. Let's do a festival. Okay, what are we doing? Let's just go. Let's get some people, find some venues. Let's sell tickets. Let's do it. And we've been fortunate enough, very lucky, to have a lot of, we attract a lot of hungry young people who want to be part of that kind of environment, that just want to be part of shit that's getting done, and I think
Yeah,
that reflects in our clubs.
I meet local guys all the time. I'll try and get local guys to open for me if I'm on the road, and because I know how important a stage is when you're starting out, and I meet a lot of guys that are on that verge, that crossroads where they're like, I'm thinking of going to New York or L.A. And I go, listen, man, I didn't come up in the scene in L.A., but what I can tell you about the scene in New York is that funny comes first, and your work comes first, and that's everything there. If you're funny and you're writing and you're working and you're growing, they will respect you. They will give you as many opportunities as you can handle. But if you plan on coasting it and kind of coming there just to land auditions for shit, I would say go to the other coast. I think the East Coast is just pure uncut funny.
Yep.
So
You know,
you're right, and because of that, so there's a surplus of funny people trying to get in your clubs, right? So here's my question: you talk about you're okay with a bomb here and there, and you can enjoy it. It happens.
when's
How
the cutoff? When you
what
when you get rid of them?
What is the leak? Because you're bringing people in, and the efforts. I mean, what you describe. I mean, your goddamn partner's been choked, and so this means a lot to you guys. Getting people in, that's your art form in a way.
Yeah.
Even though you're not
Nothing
pitching anymore like that, you're still trying to figure out how to get asses in seats.
Nothing hurts
Right.
us more than when we're in one of our clubs and it's not full.
It's okay. But then you get it full and you're like feeling good and we got a good night. And someone comes up and it's like the third or fourth time in a month or 6 weeks you've seen them tank. When do you have a come to Jesus moment with the comic, the booker, with yourselves? When does that happen?
Or do you just tell them the pink slips in the locker when you open
Oh,
it up, turn in the
the locker,
playbook,
like
you're
it's
out?
trading.
I mean, listen, look,
like Willie Mays Hayes.
look, it's a very grueling process. It is. It's become a very, and I credit Amy to this and our booking team.
Amy Hawthorne, Booker, New York Comedy Club.
Shout out Amy.
She's created a very, in one way, we're a very accessible club. In one way, we're a club where if you're a young comic, there is no, in my view, better club to come up in than ours because we do create so much opportunity for you.
Yeah.
But in the same breath, it's become a very difficult club to get into. Okay. So for us, there are so many layers that you have to, or not hoops, but there's so many different levels you have to go through before you even get the opportunity to get past for, let's say, a late night, that by the time you get there, and late night is really meant for you to cut your teeth anyway.
Right.
Once you're past with us, we're saying to you, we trust you.
Right.
We trust you. So we trust that you're going to do your thing. We trust that you're going to know when to maybe not just always work on shit. We trust you to understand what nights are the nights you should probably focus on killing versus some nights where you shouldn't.
I like it.
But if we're seeing a comic, we've had conversations with comics. I've told Amy straight up, look, I've seen this comic now 5 times. They've never done well. Like, and I've been in the room.
Yeah.
Not that they have to kill when I'm in the room, but but they have to be able to know that they're bombing. And if they don't have good shit to bring the room back, like you have to be able to weave in some of the new shit with the good.
Right.
And I'm like, there needs to be a conversation. So we 100% will talk to a comic and say, look, the last few times, like, there is that conversation for sure, but it's very delicate because we don't want to be the kind, we're not I mean, I think again, one of the reasons why we've been able to kind of have this kind of growth is because none of us are jaded ex-comics, pissed off, trying to tell you how to do your job.
Those are the best.
Yes.
Your job is your job. Funny better than anybody. But this is a family, and if you're struggling, our goal is to try to get to the root of it. And we've had comics that have struggled before, and we've had the conversation, and we found out that they're going through some crazy personal shit.
Right.
Or we found out there's something going on, and we just put them on the bench for a month. Just a week. Just take a break. Get your shit right. Whatever. We try to put them in better situations, or maybe we just put them on late night shows where they can figure it back out. But it's not like we're just cutting you loose. There are times, though, where we have cut people loose, but those are more of like the young comics that maybe we passed. They're doing late night, and there's no growth.
Yeah.
They're just not growing. It's like, look, so anyway.
We're going to get names out of you tonight, and then Shirley and I, the next 4 days, we're just going to interview them. When you got cut from New York,
No,
How did it
I-
change?
You know, but I, you know, like you take a guy like an Andrew Schultz, right? Who I talk about a lot. 'Cause
he's
I,
a bum. I've said it from day. Oh, Schultz. Sorry,
good.
I didn't hear
Good.
you.
Schultz
Schultz.
on that dude. Schultz did a show. You know, it was like a random Wednesday night. He had like and this was like before he's really
Blown up.
blow up. This was probably like 3 years ago. But he would still have appeal. But a lot of the appeal, believe it or not, was still coming in from like the Guy Code stuff.
From MTV.
And there was about
too,
30 on MTV. There's about 30 people there who only knew Andrew from Guy Code. And Andrew is not anything like that Guy Code person, that they were portraying. And I'm telling you, he walked the entire group.
They all left.
They all left. It was 26 people. They all got up and left.
At the same time, in the middle of the set of the man who's now a fucking industry among
Yes.
he's a cottage industry of himself.
afterwards, Andrew
Well,
comes
they
up
came
the
to see
green
the
room.
character on TV. That's who they came to see, and that's
Oh.
not who Andrew is.
And a guy like Schultz, like 3 years ago, even implicit trust. You know,
Yes. And also 3 years ago would still say fuck you to those people
Totally.
that
Yeah,
are
3 years
expecting him to dance like a monkey up there for him.
Yeah, I mean, he's been doing this. You know, his style brand of comedy has been this way forever. Really, he
Right.
never was that Guy Code person. Comes in the green room after, and he was all apologetic. I go, Andrew, fuck those people. They're not really your fans. They don't even know. They're expecting to see the Guy Code guy. I'm happy you walked them. Now they know not to come see your show. They shouldn't
that.
come here. And that's it.
Now,
But that's not all the time. There are times though when I have seen comics like, they lean into the bomb so hard, and that is annoying to me. I'm like, look, I
Right.
get your bombing, but you have to lean in
right.
like to the point where now it really fucks the show.
Have you noticed this? It's crazy. Like we have a podcast about bombing. We joke about it. We love this. It's great. Have you noticed though? A lot of people come from like the indie world or the Brooklyn scene. It almost strikes me that they are expecting and wanting and bragging about the bomb. It's like, oh, I'm
need
gonna
it.
bomb, and
They
then
need
they
it, right?
bomb
I
like
know.
a
It's like
motherfucker.
at some point,
Why are you doing
at
this?
some point, you gotta try and be funny.
You got to try and be funny.
because it's like just becomes ironic now. And here's another funny thing too, like, and you just don't know. Like sometimes people might not know what you're doing. So I was with Chrissy D. When we were in Texas, and we're talking about
Great
a
Chris
particular
stuff,
comic, and he's like, I'm not really a big fan of so and so. Or I mean, Chris loves everyone, but he was just like, I know, this person could be funny, but I've never really seen him do well. And I'm
Tell
like,
him I
yeah,
have new stuff, will you?
Yeah. But I'm like, well, he's always working. I was like, this particular comic's always working on shit. And he goes, basically we're just talking about how like you probably never really saw him try to kill. But I mean, I think a lot of comics, like, I don't know, I think you have to be cognizant of that too. Like, I get it. Like, you're working out, you're in a gym, but you just never know who's in the room. You never know if they've seen you always work new material. But comics are different. I feel like you guys more than anyone understand when a comic is working on stuff and not.
But you bring up an interesting point where it's like I'll watch comics who like this is a very New York move where it's a small turnout and then they'll just lean up against the wall and they'll shit on the 12 people that showed up. And it's like, and that I never understood. I've learned from Vegas, you make you the joke of only 12 people being there. Like you go, wow, I see my advertising campaign's doing well. It's not about making you guys feel like, because you already feel like assholes for sitting in a room that holds a lot more than 12 people and there's only 12 of you there. So why you're just leaning up on the wall like you had no part in this, right? Like you just showed up. I mean, come on.
And then they resort to start fucking making fun of the venue. Like,
yeah,
there is an art form. There is actually an art form in bombing.
Oh,
of
please.
course.
And you just hit the nail on the head. What you don't do is you don't attack the fucking crowd. I mean, God, and you don't have to. I get it. It's funny to make fun of the venue, but don't make fun of the fucking venue. Like,
No.
What's putting you up?
yeah, like, what are you doing?
I've
Like,
told
there are-
people, I've apologized. I'm sorry for the turnout. I don't know what to tell you, but even if I did, who would you tell you couldn't get 10 more people to come here tonight? So, and now it's about them, but it's in a joking way. It has nothing to do with the venue or promotion or advertising or any of that. But it's crazy how they'll like, I don't know if it's breaking down the fourth wall or they just have nothing else, but they'll just attack the one fucking place that's putting them up and paying them.
My favorite is supposedly years ago in Vegas. Something happened, and Red Fox played to like a half full audience, comes out and is like,
I heard it was like 16 people. That's
was it
what I heard.
16? Yeah.
Yeah.
16 motherfuckers. Bullshit. Slams the mic and gets the fuck out and probably did cocaine with Asian hookers
Probably.
while playing Keno. Which
Well,
was
no, the greatest part of that story is they introduce him and they go, "Ladies and gentlemen, Red Fox," and ba-da-ba-ba-ba-da, and he comes out and he looks and he goes, "I ain't doing a show for 16 motherfuckers." Walks off and the music starts again. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-da, Red Fox.
ladies and gentlemen, Red Fox. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I again, like it depends too for me, like what is the intent behind your bombing? If you're literally just going up there to bomb, then what are you doing? But if you're trying to work some new shit out, you're trying to figure out the nuances, that to me is fearless. Look, I am trying to work shit out and I am making myself vulnerable to the fact that this might not go well. So strap in and let's go.
And
Right?
you
Let's
guys
just figure
know
it out.
that. You've seen it enough, so you know when somebody's taking a chance and they're trying something. And
Yeah, and I've seen it in the other end when someone is bombing and they're just trying to be they're like, well, I'm bombing so hard, so let's just make this bomb funny. It's like, well, that's not gonna help your act.
no.
Now you're kind of just being a fucking dick.
You're kind of jerking off.
Yeah,
at
and you're
that point,
wasting
yeah.
everyone's time. Like, this is sacred time here. Like, yeah, you are bombing right now. How are you gonna find some good out of this? Now, maybe, there could be an argument to be made. Well, maybe they're doing that just to feel as bulletproof as possible. But there is a delicacy to it. And I remember a few years ago, like, I don't know what it was. Maybe I saw too many people bomb in a week. I hit you up. Remember, I was pissed.
The consigliere.
I'm like, this is really dry. Like, I'm like, is it me or is everyone just doesn't care about being funny anymore?
And they're doing it on weekends where people are paying. You pay them more. It's a big deal. That should be like the money shows, and people are up there looking at notes on a fucking Friday.
Yeah,
I believe it was Robert Plant who said, "Does anyone remember laughter?"
Who book him?
yeah, okay, exactly. Anyway.
What is? We'll wrap up here with this last question. What is the wildest thing you've seen happening at the club, or a few of them, if you got?
Oh,
I don't
dude.
know.
I mean,
That wasn't a party.
does it have to be bombing or just in general?
No,
Oh,
just in general. Just in
Oh, dude,
general. This
so
is
about-
the life of a comedy club owner right here. We want to
the
hear it.
Valentine's Day Massacre. Oh no, there was two things.
Hit it.
One was the Valentine's Day Massacre, which we don't talk about often. We try not to bring
Was
it
this
up.
the roast battle?
No, this was our very first Valentine's Day we had. It was on a Saturday. We had never been that packed to that point. We only had the club for a few months. We ran like 5 shows, and something happened where like we didn't turn off like a Groupon thing that we were doing, or we didn't understand exactly how Groupon was working, and we ended up overselling these shows where we had lines of people out front.
Oh my
Who
God.
were losing their fucking shit, and we were totally understaffed. Our poor manager at the time literally was just getting yelled at. I mean, dude, I was like actually like hiding. Like I
Dude, shit, what it was
like Matt Pavich, who was like he was hosting one of the shows, helping us serve drinks.
No.
Like his girlfriend was helping us serve drinks. We were and then we were having issues with the Wi-Fi. And then at the time, like now, you guys know there's multiple entrances to get into the green room. Where at the time, the green room was the only way you can get in. And it wasn't even a green room. It was just an office.
Yeah.
The only way you can get in was to walk into the room, buy the booth, get in. We were so packed, you couldn't. So to get the Wi-Fi working, we had to like try to figure it out in the office. So Wi-Fi's not working. The checks aren't getting out in time. There's a line of 40 people per show yelling at the door person. We had to break a plexiglass to get into the office.
No.
So our manager's jumping in, trying to fix the Wi-Fi.
Like Dukes of Hazzarding it?
It was fucking madness. The other thing that happened, which to this day we don't know how this happened, it was in the middle of November. Again, one of the busiest nights you can have. 4 fully sold out shows. And there was a group of 20. We don't allow big groups in ever. Ever. And this one fucking group finagled their way in. They found a way they all bought like random tickets. After we emailed them, we do not allow large groups. You cannot, we just can't allow it. And you'd have to sit in separate areas, like this whole thing. They just didn't listen. They went and they bought tickets like individually. They bought them in like groups of 2s and 4s. They show up, we're like, we can't sit you together. Again, I wasn't there. And somehow they all ended up sitting together. They were just dicks. Like they just were not listening. And that show, the fire, what is that called? The fire, the hose, not the hose, the
extinguisher.
the fire extinguisher. I
The
can't
hoof.
speak.
I'm gonna
The
use that
fi-
joke
dude,
again. The
So
hoof.
so we don't.
Shane.
One of the girls in the group it was a 9 o'clock show on a Saturday, which you guys have done. You guys know that's like the craziest, hottest show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She put her jacket on the fire extinguisher. The fire extinguisher somehow went off in the middle of the showroom. Literally, it was snowing in the showroom. Now, I don't know if you guys know, you know how hard it is to basically get a fire extinguisher to work. You have to pull. It's like a grenade, dude. You got to pull out like a fucking.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing. So and Alexis Guerreros was hosting the show. I mean, it was so wild, dude. We had to evacuate everybody. When I
Yeah.
say, guys,
That doesn't clear out in a couple minutes.
Buddy,
That's like
our
you're fucked.
the next show is 11:30. Our staff was able to get the show turned over and ready to go by 11:30. I don't know how the fuck
Wow.
they did it. They were scrubbing shit.
Can we discuss?
We were like, can we do this? Like, are there fumes in that thing? Are people going to die? I'm not kidding you. Sometimes I'll still see some of that extinguisher shit somewhere.
Still there?
Like
Years
there'll be, like,
later.
little remnants
Get
it
out of
somewhere.
here.
It's like the bullet holes at the club they shot
Those
Dimebag
two
at. They're
things,
still
dude,
in the walls.
Live in infamy.
Yeah.
Infamy.
Usually it's not snowing in the showroom at a comedy club. Usually it's in the green room.
Yeah.
Am I right, everybody? Real quick, when you brought up the St. Valentine's Massacre, I did Valentine's roast battle years ago. There was couples taking on each other. There was couples that were breaking up.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I was drunker than a skunk. I was judging with a girl I might or might not have a sexual and romantic history with. And we're like flirting under the table and all this. And I thought I was going to get laid, but we were both so drunk. I took 4 different cabs that night and got stranded and still had to take the subway back to Astoria. She got me in a couple cabs. I don't know why we're changing cabs. And then she went to fuck someone else. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. That's my St. Valentine's Day.
Someone else was Gino Bisconte.
Probably.
The New York comedy scene, ladies and gentlemen, in a nutshell.
But you learn from bombs, right? I mean, that's the thing. You learn from that stuff. You know.
Yeah, learn never to fuck her again.
Like again, if you were to say what were the 2 greatest nights in the history of us on running the clubs, it would take me a minute to think about it.
But
those 2 things stick out. I'm like,
That's
those 2. And you really learn. Like, I'm not kidding. Still, and when I'm in the club, I'm always like, "Where's the extinguisher? Is there a fucking?" Once in a while, I'll text the cook guys, just make sure like we're not seeing anyone near fire extinguisher. Like it's still in there. Oh,
It's,
can't get it out.
you know, battle scars, as they call it, my friend.
Sure.
That's it, baby.
Emilio, ladies and gentlemen, if you are in the New York, Atlantic City, Connecticut, and now California
Bang.
area,
Party.
you,
California.
yeah, I mean, first of all, check out New York Comedy Club if you're in New York. Multiple locations, all killers playing there. Great shows, great atmosphere, great staff.
Thank you.
They will take care of you. They always do. It's my home away from home. I love those guys. They just invited me to come up, and then they saw me, and then they go, "This guy's gonna work here." That's it. They're not going, "Oh, what kind of shoes does he have on? Which iPhone does he have?" Go fuck yourself. This is where comedy lives. New York Comedy Club. That's
Thank
it.
you, brother.
And bring
End
your
of
own fire
story.
extinguisher. They're
Bring
done
your own
using
fire-
their own.
Yeah, we're bringing our own fire extinguisher.
I love you, brother, and
I love you too,
I'll
guys.
see
Thank
you
you
in
so
May.
much. Yeah, Shuli. Hey, Shuli's going to be headlining 3 of the
Bang them out. Bang them out.
AC, Fairfield, and we're going to be doing a fun headliner in New York.
That's right.
I don't know if
We're
Joel
doing it.
told you. Fucking Clarence.
We're doing it. I talked to Clarence Worley. He's
I
filled
talked
me
to
in.
Clarence today too. He's like, "What's up, bud?"
Oh, I'm going to call him now.
I go, I love throwing him all. I go, "So how are you, Joel?" He doesn't know how to answer. "How are you?" He goes, "What do you mean?" I go, "Nothing." Anyway, let's go over this real
He
quick.
has no fucking clue. I love it. Clarence.
Fucking
I was
Clarence is
torturing him last weekend in Pennsylvania. He was driving me all around, and I was just torturing him by texting Dice the whole time to harass him.
crazy.
So
Love it.
it was great.
Oh, that sounds great. I love
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Man.
I love you, brother.
yeah,
Give my
so
love
much.
to everybody.
We'll do, and we can't wait to see you, Shul.
Thank you. And Emilio, thanks for coming out, bro.
Thanks for coming out,
Thank
bro.
you for having us, or me.
Playoffs.
All right, this was a good episode.
Fuck it.
Long story short,
He failed. God damn it. Yes,
Wait.
misery loves company, my boy.
thanks for coming out.
Boom.
Thanks for coming out, baby. Thanks for coming out. Hey.
Thanks for coming out. Are we under attack?
Thanks for coming out. Fuck, that bad?
Thanks for coming out. I'm in. Thanks for coming out.
I can't even watch. Yeah, all that was unprofessional.
Thanks for coming out, ladies and gentlemen. The bomb is the bomb, and it will always be that.